people? And today we're breaking down film on Patrick Paul, Miami Dolphins left tackle, who just looked really, really good in the preseason. And, it is preseason. You take a lot of it with a grain of salt. But just comparing him to last year preseason at this point, just worlds better, a lot more consistent. You can even look at little things with technique and stuff like that. Just his ability on the move, his angles out in space looked improved. I think that's like the biggest takeaway that you can have is he really does look ready for like that breakout, that second year spike in play. Just comparing his preseason to last year to this year, even his regular season play last year to this year's preseason, and just going through training camps and joint practices, Paul has been reportedly very good, and he's going to be a key player for Miami in this upcoming season. So excited to watch him get to work. He has all the athletic traits, physical profile that you look for. Like, he's dominating some of these reps, even without like perfect technique. He'll dominate some of these reps, and I think the scheme also does him a lot of favors as well, which is nice. That's what you want with your players to fit into what you're doing schematically. And he was doing well in pass pro and in run blocking. I think run game is key. A lot of the pass pro stuff is him kind of like jump setting, 45-degree setting. Not a lot of true pass sets, but he just looks comfortable here. Like, getting into his set, he explodes out of his stance, looks very comfortable. I feel like he's playing with pretty good bend and base, not getting too over the top. Like, he just looks more comfortable here. Maybe, and I think his hand placement looks a little more solid. The timing of the strikes, still some inconsistencies there that I think he can work on. But man, like, when he gets in there, like, these backup edges have no chance against him. I always look back at that Texans game last year where he was going against two of the best, like probably one of the best duos in the league at edges, and Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson. That was easily his most impressive game in my opinion, and he could match them with athleticism and strength. He looks like a man amongst kids out of the preseason game. Very explosive. Once he gets hands on you, he couldn't be moved. His anchor is very good, and the pass sets looked extremely easy for him. And then the run game stuff, I think he did his job. Had some impressive reps here in this Jaguars game, getting out to the edge. So Dolphins running some weak side outside zone here, and he's got to get out to the edge and just do enough to like basically kick out, create some horizontal displacement. Like seeing that, get engaged and leg drive, because there was times, I think this will be the key with the left sideline. They are very big and they are very athletic, but there is some inconsistencies you've seen on film on times with like creating consistent movement, creating displacement. But they clearly have the ability, man. So if that can kind of come to fruition this season, that'd be absolutely huge for him. Here he's out in space. This is a key point for Paul. Is he's such a good mover at his size out in space? Last year, his biggest problem was either just poor eyes, poor angles, maybe not knowing exactly who you should go to. But he looks way more comfortable, at least in preseason, out in space. Like, I know he had some reps on screens and stuff. Here he is just as a puller out in space, gets a body on a DB. It doesn't end up necessarily mattering on this play, but like getting a clean block on a safety that far down the field is pretty impressive. Doing some decent work here with combos with Jonah. Watch what he does here. So him and Jonah going to the 3 tech. He's down blocking and getting to 47. Look at him attack the low hip. He gets that left hand in there and just completely helps Jonah overwhelm him, throw him to the side like it's nothing. And then his eyes are still looking for this linebacker, number 47 right there, and is able to kind of get off of it, reset, rebalance himself, good recovery, and at least seal off the guy long enough for Achane to work off the back of him. Maybe could have done it a little bit quicker, but overall, pretty good work. You can look at his body control and balance too, and come off that so well. Flip his hips, the fluidity, man. Like, Paul is really impressing me. I did not love, like, it was probably one of my, least favorite draft picks at the time when it happened, because when you did watch that college film, like, man, there was a lot of things he had to work through. And I think when you are scouting sometimes doing these things, like, you don't know the person as well as some of the teams do, and I think they probably thought his work ethic was really good and that he could elevate him up to the play, because sometimes these players that are more working products, a lot of them don't end up working out. I think Paul is on a pretty good arc right now for him, which gives me a lot of hope, and I've definitely turned far around him here. This is just like nothing too crazy here. Throw the drag hand, help your left guard get kind of the reach block on his guy. Could probably do a little bit of a better job helping out Jonah, But this part is what I want to talk about. Getting to the second level when you have an easy block angle wise, just get to your spot, be patient, and use your body to seal. You don't need to like this type of rep is not a rep where you need to dominate someone physically. It's just about angles, and once you get control, now you just need to seal him off. And just getting a body on a guy in that spot on a second level defender, make it look easy. Big points from me for Patrick Paul because that is an area I saw him just miss too many times on film. I knew he had the physical capabilities, but just seeing that makes me feel really good because it's such a big part of Miami's offense and something they were desperately needing last year from their O line, the tight ends, fullbacks. And then just pass pro is just easy. Like these guys couldn't get around him. He's just such a big presence with long arms and athleticism. So like even when he doesn't have perfect reps technique wise, he's still just like it's really hard to beat him around the edge. Like when you're that athletic and long, super hard for guys to bend and win around the edge. So Tua, I think will have a lot of good time stepping up in the pocket when people try to work around Paul. He's very comfortable. He was very comfortable in the regular season last year. Most of his pass pro losses, I think, came on guys countering to the inside, and I think he showed some pretty good recovery and did some things um, here. And just another very dominant rep. Like I'm saying, like even when he goes for like that wide hands, uh, and I think he's doing this on purpose. It's a certain type of technique. I don't love it. I mean, mixing it in every once in a while is fine. I like seeing a little more consistent hand placement into the chest. Allows you to utilize your length a little bit more. But doing like the sort of catch thing, he's fine with it. I mean, he gets guys into his body sometimes even when he misses hands, and he's completely fine. Uh, Interesting sort of technique here. So they're running some gap scheme stuff, pulling the left guard. He kind of first step is to the inside, throw that drag hand on 96, help Brewer kind of down block and kick 96 out, and then Paul has to then readjust, find the edge, working on the edge, and then just completely widen him, take him out of the play. Which actually ends up working on the favor because the initial Wright's trying to work up doesn't end up working, but from the effect of Brewer and Paul, Wright's able to get a little hesitation and then find the lane, a secondary lane late there, which is nice. And Paul had a lot of good reps here, like 94. Like in these goal line situations, a lot of people kind of lost their reps, but Paul was very dominant versus Austin Booker. And Austin Booker has had some very dominant preseason games in the past, and he also against Miami had dominant preseason games. But not when he went against Paul. Paul kind of manhandled him and made it look easy. Here's the jump setting onto Austin Booker. Like I'm saying, he like this is not a great position to be. Like I don't think it's the greatest hand placement. Look at he's playing way too high, not really bending, and he's still in so much control. It's actually insane. Like he loves to jump set. So Dolphins love to jump set. It's something that they're very comfortable doing. And when you're isolated like this, so he has a tight end to his side. The tight end does help him initially, just giving a little hesitation here, which allows him to get out of Booker. So I like that setup. But realistically, the rest of the offensive line is look at all this space to work with. But since he's able to jump set and get into him, and the tight end gives him a little hesitation, it just slows down the pass rushers. It's one of my, I think the best part of Miami's pass pro system that they like to do. And Paul definitely helps him out, I think. Here's more of a clean one. You see that last one? Here's a clean one where he doesn't get the help. He initially just gets out onto him so fast. I think the hands are a little bit better. He likes to go out in those shoulder pad areas, which can get you a little bit of holding calls if the guys do end up, shaking away. Like this isn't holding. Like I know he's like gripped on there. It shows good grip strength. But once like the guys try to start working outside your frame and then you still hold on, that's when it becomes a holding call. But he doesn't allow them to really do that. And he's got much better technique here. I think base-wise, he's playing with better bend. He's not too leaning over the top with his, like he's not bending at the waist there. Pretty clean stuff. And that's where Paul will be asked to do a lot of things. And I think from varying sets there, it looked better. I think the run game, he looks more consistent. And just from like, I know the notes in training camp, you hear a lot how like the runs and like big screens were kind of worked off of him. And that could be a big point of the season is like, I know people look at like Paul as a key point, but one thing that he does bring, at least more so than I would expect in Armstead, is he doesn't have that injury history. So I'm not saying he can't get injured, but it's more likely, knock on wood, but, more likely to at least have a consistent body out there. Sometimes when you are that guy, it's like, Armstead's good, but he's constantly in and out of the lineup. That can create some chemistry issues. So that's what I'm hoping to see that can grow from Paul and Jonah all season long. Hopefully that can build. There will definitely be some growing pains, but I think I am pretty high on Paul going into this year. I was already high on him before the preseason and, some of the training camp reports. I think just looking at him last year and knowing the work ethic, he was already farther along than I thought he would be. So I was already feeling pretty solid about him. And I think he's going to even do better than probably a lot of people's expectations. So shout out Patrick Paul. Definitely one of the players that's really earned it and shown a lot of growth. And I hope he can continue that in the regular season, which I do believe he will to at least a solid extent. Like, I don't think he's going to be one of the detriment players of the team. Like, there's certain players out there that I'm like, ooh, they have the chance of being like what hinders you on offense or defense. And I really don't believe it's going to be Paul. Not going to say he's going to play perfect, but I don't believe it will be Paul. So if you guys enjoy the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Peace.